Well, hi everybody. Welcome to 2020. Written by Stephen King and produced and directed by Quentin Tarantino. And I know I didn't say his Tarantino. I can't never say his last name right. But anyway, if you haven't already seen that, I would have put the picture up of it, but I didn't want him to void my video. YouTube's kind of funny about that. I don't want to use anything that I've seen anywhere else. But it was almost funny. It wasn't so true. I'm going to talk a little bit. I guess I usually do, but if you don't want to hear me talk, just fast forward in this. But to start with, I wanted to talk about I called it Groundhog Day. I only watched about 10 minutes of news today, and that was enough to make me turn it off. It was like William Barr says he's going to be there on the 28th of July to testify in front of the House. Am I imagining this, or didn't this just happen about a year ago? And then when they ask that mumbly little guy, don't tell me I've waited too late now. Jerry Nadler, the guy in charge of the House, when they asked him why he didn't subpoena him, he says, well, he said he would come. Well, he said he would come again. But so far I haven't heard that they subpoenaed him. They need to they said they were going to. That's how they get him to give him a date. And then he comes up with some hokey excuse why he doesn't have to come in there because of this or this or this. So they know that. And if they don't go ahead and subpoena him right away, they're in on this with him. I'm not saying the whole frickin' House is in on it with him, but there's enough that's been there a lot of years that's in there with him. And it's not that they're rootin' tootin' for Donald Trump, it's just that they don't really see the tragedy going on around them, and they don't see what could happen, and they just don't want to lose their money, and they don't want anybody to find out where they've been getting their money from. So let's see if they actually do subpoena him, even though he said he's going to show up, because he's done this before. And we all know how that turned out. So anyway, he's supposed to be there the 28th of next month, if we still have a government by the 28th of next month. And, last time when they did ask Jerry Nadler about that, he just kind of mumbled and crumbled and moved his head. Well, we thought he was going to be here. Well, this is our democracy at risk, and it's totally at risk. So they need to get off their asses and start doing something. So he didn't subpoena him. So what's Bill Barr got to do with Jerry Nadler? Before, you remember that guy that was supposed to be subpoenaing which that's all passed now because it's already up in the Supreme Court, but before, just to get it even going, he put it off for 2 years, that other guy in the House that wouldn't subpoena the IRS to get his taxes. It's just a bunch of bullshit. They're just all holding hands under the table pretending like they don't like each other. I'm just about convinced of it. There's just no opposition from the Dems in the House at all. It's just mealy mouth, pass the buck, mealy mouth, pass the buck. And do they really think if we end up not having an election and Trump takes over that they're going to be in office? Or are they so far out of touch they don't realize what in the fripp's going on? I'm sorry. I said I wasn't going to make another video if I was angry at all, and I'm not angry. I just don't know why they don't stand up to Barr. And it's almost like they're for Trump instead of against him. It is I know better than that, but at the same time there is something bigger than we see going on there. one person don't just come in and dismantle the whole government and them sit back and let them. I don't care if the House is set in their way. I mean, if the Senate won't go with them, they've got to have some power in the House. And if they don't, then the rules definitely need to be changed. And I guess I ought to thank the people that didn't show up to the racist rally. Come for the racism, go home with the plague. I'm glad that they put themselves in front of Trump, the douchebag president. We should thank them at home for staying at home and protecting their family, because they might protect us, and that might be what he has in mind for postponing the election. Might be that he wants to have COVID so bad that people are dying in the streets, laying in the streets, not being able to get buried. I feel like he's trying to super spread this just as fast as he can. And I didn't think he was that smart. But I'm beginning to think he's smart like a fox. You know how some people, they're just really good in two areas. Like he lives in his own reality, but that doesn't mean he's stupid. He got to be his age and hadn't been in jail yet, not because he's stupid. I think I'm the biggest one to underestimate him, but I think everybody's been underestimating him. He lives in his own reality, he creates it himself, and he expects every one of his minions around him to create that reality. And if they don't, then he's vicious, because he's got two: narcissism totally, or just total viciousness. That's the only two things he's got to his personality. He just swings back from one to the other. And when he's being the narcissist, as long as everybody's keeping him happy, he can charm their britches off. But the second they piss him off, he just goes into, he's vicious. And everybody was talking about how defeated he looked when he came off that plane, because he was carrying his tie instead of wearing it and kind of walking. Looked to me like relaxed. If I had to guess, and I seen somebody walking across like that, I'd say it was somebody had been rode hard and put up wet. I think that's the best he looked since he went into the presidency. But I don't think he was having sex on that plane. I think he was just viciously annihilating everybody on it all the way back, and by the time he got there, he was just relaxed, like somebody that had just had a good bump in the hay. But with those two parts of his personality, the narcissism and the viciousness, vicious hatred that he has when things don't go his way, in that way he's kind of like a creative genius, because he makes everybody else around him create his illusion, his environmental illusion, and if they can't create it, then he just turns on them and turns vicious. It's and he also has the trait, like other like Jim Jones and all the other people, Manson and stuff, all the other cult leaders. He has a way of making people want to join in with him, making them feel better than they feel about themselves if they jump on board. And by doing this, you do pick up a lot of people that are easily led. And then when you're in the presidency, you pick up a lot of people that are just wanting power and that are whatever, just trying to get their name in the book somewhere. But I never thought I'd call him a creative genius, but he is in a way, and you can see what he's doing. So And he just eliminates anybody that's not helping him create this illusion of his close to him, but at the same time, he knows what he's doing. There's a method to his madness. And it's the same trait of cult leaders. He's like P.T. Barnum of racist hatred. For the next 6 months, his strategy is going to be ruthless, just totally ruthless. That's why we have to be careful, because we think he's just crazy. Not crazy like a fox. And this is the first time I've ever given credit for anything, but I'm just convinced. The more I watch him and the more dreams I have about him, I'm convinced. Because he knows if his presidency ends that he's going to end up in jail. And he don't want that. And a narcissist like him blames everybody around him for the world not being as they see it. So everybody around him is supposed to fix the world to match. That's why he was so angry at everybody, because they didn't have the big blowout at that rally they were having. And anybody in their right mind would have known they wouldn't have been there. But I think that's part of his plan. I think he's trying to spread COVID all over the United States where it's so bad that he can cancel the election. I started writing different things, and I just kept coming back to that conclusion today when I was trying to do some automatic writing. And like I said, anytime something goes wrong, that's the first thing they do is that type of narcissist look for somebody else to blame. So what's he going to do? What I'm going to read on first is, will he win the election? Will he win a fair election? We know he won't win if it's a fair election, but if it looks like he's going to win, he might go through with it. So I'm going to pull cards on will he win the election? And then my second is going to be if it looks like he's going to lose, he's going to try to destroy the democratic process, and I want to see if he's going to be able to get away with it. The third thing I'm going to read on is he going to cancel the election? We know that he's going to hang on to this presidency if he has to put our whole democracy under. So what we have to do, because he doesn't want to lose that immunity he has from being prosecuted, because he knows how much trouble he's in. So what we're going to have to do is we have to win this election by a landslide. And I don't care, just vote blue no matter who. Vote progressive if what I call the Justice Democrats, the one that got in there without any money. And you'll probably be better off in the long run, but it doesn't make any difference. Just vote blue no matter who. Because we need to win this election by a landslide, because if that doesn't even happen, he'll use that as an excuse to call in the militia. And we have to make sure all the votes are counted. That needs to be worked on already. We have to anticipate ahead of time what national emergency he'd call, what he's going to use for it. If he thinks he's going to lose the election, to stop the election. And probably all elections after that, if it gets stopped for any reason. And we need to figure out who he's going to call in there. Who's going to help him do this? This isn't it looked like he was just being stupid and pulling one block from here and one block from there, but there's a laid out plan for this. I mean, he's already got his guys in control of the post office right now. The head guy at the post office is his handpicked man now. What's going to happen to the post office by November? Are we going to be able to use it? I know I might sound far-fetched, but this is just too planned out. And I feel like, including me as liberals, we all share a responsibility in this. We always think that things are just going to keep the same and keep going as we're used to it. And democracy doesn't work unless you participate. And we've got lazy about it. We haven't raised our kids to vote. We've haven't educated our kids to take a deeper look at what's going on. Nowadays, we need to educate them to look a little bit past corporate news, no matter where it's coming from. We want to really figure out what's going on. And we just always think that things are just going to stay like they are. And I really think that the next 6 months is going to be a total fight for our democracy. And if anybody wins that war, it's going to be the people out in the streets. I'm not saying that we need to start a war, but I mean we need people paying attention to what's going on, whether it's what would you call it, a racism that we've all had and not owned up to on one part or another, but is it the black and brown and young people, the young people out in the streets that are maybe going to stop this? Maybe they're just not going to put up with it. Something's got to stop this, and the main thing that's going to stop it is everybody voting. So that's how they're going to stop it. I didn't mean they were going to go out and start a fight. I meant they were going to stop it with their votes. So let's hope they just get everybody registered and come through, and let's hope that the frickin' government, the House and the Senate, gets off their ass a little bit before in the next 6 months. And we need to start by protecting the post office. They need to put all kinds of stuff through to protect the post office. Like I said, we're facing a showdown for our democracy in the next 6 months, and I don't have any doubt of that. So I'm going to shut up and maybe shorten that. I'll have to listen to it and see how silly it seems, or I don't think it's silly, but I don't want to sound like somebody out weaving webs, but I'm not talking about anything that's not going on. It's not like I'm making this shit up. So I'll start right out, and we shouldn't even have to read cards on this, but I'm just going to go 4 across. Will he win if there's a fair election? If there's a fair election, okay, well, is Trump going to win this election? I know right now it looks like there's no way if there's any kind of fair election that he could even get close to winning. But we know how that is with him. No telling what snake they're going to pull out of the pit. And talk about a showmanship. I just watched a little bit of it on one of the YouTube channels. Talk about Barnum and Bailey, the circus crier. That was supposed to be a church, like a Christian type church. It's Turning Point, where they're connected in with the family, which is that group of senators and congressmen that are brainwashed from their early years, trying to tear up our government. So right there but I don't think these young college kids are all totally in it. There was too many. Well, maybe they're doing it by the droves now. There was a lot of 1,500 young college people in that church, and they had this guy going around. He looked like probably if he hadn't been all made up, like a black Adonis almost. He was a beautiful black man, but they had him made up like a devil. And he was all painted up, and I mean, you would have had to see it to know what I'm talking about. So But they had him made up like a devil, and he was walking around telling all these people, I'm Antifa, I'm Antifa. And anybody that's paid any attention to politics and really listening and what's going on, there is no Antifa. There were some guys that was going to start something like that, and they were more computer nerds than anything else, and they never pushed any violence. But anyway, there is no Antifa, but they've got this guy running around all made up with makeup and body tattoos all over, dressed up like a devil. Even if I'm not mistaken, I think they even had horns on him. But they had him uncovered enough to tell you could tell he was black. And so that's just Barnum and Bailey showmanship. And I mean, there's people that eat that crap up. And I don't know. I think I'm astounded the most that there's that many dumb people in the world. Just totally astounded about it. So, anyway. So, I'm going to do this. Is Donald Trump going to win this election? Is Donald Trump going to win this election? Is Donald Trump going to win this election? If it's a fair election. Well, first I'll say, is he going to win the election? And if it comes out whatever one way, we're going to go back and see if it's a fair election. Because they need to start working on the ballots. They need to start working on everything. What in the hell are these Democrats doing? They're not doing nothing. Well, they're looking at their money, seeing what they got put back. There's a lot of offers being made right now. Maybe they are making some offers to Trump behind the scenes, but he's not interested. Somebody's making offers to somebody. Got the mercenary here. That's the challenge. I hope that doesn't mean there's not going to be an election. Which one of these am I drawing off of that one? Well, we got the King of Wands here. I don't think that could possibly, to me, be Trump, the King of Wands. He is to some people, but he's never been to me. That doesn't really answer it one way or the other. Is this election going to be fair? We got the High Priestess. About half and half. Nobody's working on making it fair right now at the present. It's everybody in the House, everybody in government just feel like their freaking hands are tied and they can't go out and make sure that people are going to get to vote, make sure we're going to get melon by. They can't push nothing through anywhere. What's going on? They're just going to let them steal this election? We got a partnership here as the challenge. Maybe if enough people work together, it could still be fair enough to get a Democrat elected. Well, with enough help, If enough people really start working on it, pushing toward the fairness, try to block him in every way and blocking him, keep him where he couldn't get out to do things that he's trying to do. The Democrats all work together. Okay, let's start over again. Is this going to be a fair election? Is this going to be a fair election? I think I got my glasses so dirty I can see better without them. Is this going to be a fair election? Well, it's going to be a fight between dark and light, that's for sure. Doesn't say whether it's going to be fair or not, but it looks like it's going to be a fight to the finish to keep it fair. At the present time, Trump's feeling like he's being hemmed in. He's feeling like he's being watched. They're jumping on Barr. We're not reading on him though, but he feels like he's being watched. So that's good if he feels like he's being watched and fell down. Is this going to be a fair election? If all the Democrats work together, it'll be a fair election. Pretty fair. It's going to come out. So we got the Ace of Swords. So if there is an election, it looks like it will be relatively fair. It's going to be a lot of crap going on. A lot of dark things tried, but not getting through. They're not going to be as free to mess with it as they thought they were. But we still need to watch them at every phrase. We need to all work together and watch them. And this says, yes, it's going to be a fair election. Going to be a lot of money. A lot of promises made to people to try to keep it from working. And this mercenary card scares me here. But this King of Wands is not Trump. Hopefully that's Biden. So it looks like if there is an election and if it's halfway fair, that Biden will win. There's going to be some paperwork coming out that's going to help with this just a little bit. Let's keep our fingers crossed that the Supreme Court doesn't crap on us. So it looks like if it's watched close enough and people don't pay attention to the bribes that's coming toward them, this is bribery, and you don't try to delay it and call mercenaries in, that Biden will win this election. That's a lot of ifs, isn't it? And this is going to be a fight against dark and light. But it looks like if we have an election that we'll definitely win, that the Democrats will definitely win. Okay, let's grab another deck here and see what else I've got written down here. I don't know if that made any sense or not to do it that way. I probably should have did it a different way. Looks like they're going to try to block the election, but they're not going to get away with it. Maybe that's just what I want, and that's why I hate to read cards on things, on something I don't want to happen. And the second one, and this is about Trump, so I'll use this deck. Does he have any intention of leaving? Even if he gets voted out and loses the election, does he have any intention of ever leaving this presidency? Does he feel like he's covering all of his P's and Q's where he's got control of this, even though he knows he's going to lose the popular vote? Well, I know there's been too much temperance where he's concerned already in the past. They need to start paying attention to every frickin' thing he does and quit mealy-mouthing around in the government. The present, yeah, it's just him trying to steal it. Again, that's what comes up. Our challenge is to shine enough light on his misdeeds where he can't, where he has to leave. But no, he has no intention of leaving. He figures he can steal the election, stay in there, steal it some way. I'm not sure. Manipulate it, steal it, something. He's not doing it on the up and up. We know that. He's planning on, the challenge is for him to win it at all costs, and he's going to push it at all costs. But if he does, it could end up killing him. Could end up killing him. But he plans on dying in office. He does not plan on giving up the presidency, not from these cards. Even if he has to die in office. I don't know if this is our democracy he kills after he steals the election or if it kills him. But either way, if he's already pulled our whole government down around his neck, I don't know what we can do to make it survive. I hate to sound like a Debbie Downer, but I don't know. These readings just aren't coming out for me. They're just not reading like they should. Like I want them to. Want him to just come up and say, no, that couldn't happen, blah, blah, blah. So he doesn't have any intention of leaving. That was pretty blunt in those cards. That was, does he have any intention of leaving? And no, he doesn't. Even if he plans on dying in the presidency. That's what that last card was. He's going to stay there till he dies. Literally dies. What national emergency is he going to use to postpone this election? And he knows he can't win it. And he has no, and he knows he's not leaving, knows he can't leave because he's going to go to jail. What national emergency is going to happen for him to use to postpone it? In the first row, I'm going to do across is COVID. In the second row, I'm going to do across is war. Because those are about the only two things I could think of. And that he could plan to stay in office when he knows he's not going to win this election. Is it going to be war? First one's going to be COVID. Is it going to be COVID? Or is it going to be war? What's he planning on doing to stay in this? Remember, we're fighting for our democracy for this next 6 months. Not trying to scare anybody. We just anything you can possibly do to get one more vote against him. Gotta participate. So, what national emergency what will he use to postpone this election? And I'm just going to experiment with COVID to start with. Well, here he is. Wants to stay emperor forever. I don't usually call him the emperor, but since we're working on that, that's got to be him. Smoke and mirrors. It's not like he's going to drive the numbers and pretend they're big. He's going around spreading it all over the United States now, and we're the most infected nation in the world. Trying to act like Mr. Magic while he's spreading it all over. Definitely thinking about disabling us with COVID. The challenge here, he hasn't even really made up his mind. If we're not so diseased that we can't get to the polls and the post office is all tore apart and nobody's well enough to argue about it, then it looks like he's making some kind of decision here. This is about the COVID. He's thinking about this, making a decision. They need to latch him down and keep him from spreading any more of this. It seems like there should be some kind of moral way to keep him from bringing large numbers of people together. I think this is getting so bad, not too many of them are going to get together, so maybe he'll quit trying it. And another reason I feel that he's running out to all these, getting out of the White House, I think he's afraid to stay there. They keep taking him down to the bunker, and we all know he's a big chicken shit, so maybe that's part of it. So might be trying to get it going enough. We got the musician, him out stirring up shit, stirring up the virus, trying to make a decision which way he's going to go with this, and actually filling in Joe when he's at the White House. He starts a war. Can he blame it on being a fool? Maybe, hopefully this is him thinking he can start a war and finding out from the Pentagon and our troops that he's not going to be able to start a war. Hopefully that's what that is. That's in the past. In the present, we really need everybody that's in the Pentagon, in the Secret Service, in any of that stuff that deals with other countries. We need them to be so vigilant. We need them to really pay attention to what's going on right now in the present. I know everybody keeps seeing some kind of ships having trouble, and if I'm not mistaken, World War I started over somebody saying a ship that was bombed that wasn't even bombed. So I don't know if that was a setup or misinformation, but we don't want to have World War III just so he don't have to go to jail. And he would do it. He could care less about any living thing on this earth. The challenge is there's just a whole lot of bad people backing him up. If he was on his own, it'd be impossible for him to start a war, but he's got a whole bunch of bad people barking at the moon with him. It's a shame that bristle mustache asshole isn't in there. Well, it's probably good he's not in there. But man, he would be having a hard on thinking of maybe getting to start a war to keep from having an election. I can't hardly stand to watch them interview him. It makes me sick. Well, I kind of like this card being here last from the question I asked. It looks like maybe he won't be able to start a war. If it goes that far, he might be the one that has to leave. So the challenge might be information coming out that keeps him, that almost takes him totally out of power before the election. Let's hope and pray that that's what's going to happen here. Well, we know he's going to, if he's still in there, and you know he's way behind the polls, that he'll do anything he can to postpone this election. Who's he going to call on to enforce it? So I'm going to do 4 rows across. I'm going to do 1 National Guard, 1 the police, 1 the military, and 1 Erik Prince. I got a big feeling that he's probably got a whole band of warriors, mercenaries, ready to come in and take over the streets in America. I hate to sound like an idiot. I just there's something so deep going on here, and it always has been since it started. It's been like clockwork, the way he's came in and just knocked one thing out after the other. I guess I don't know if these be the right cards to use, but I'm going to use these. I'm going to use a different deck on each one. Then I've got all the cards. That's what I'm going to do. Just trying to figure out how to do this. So, he's not supposed to be able to call out the National Guard unless the state governors agree to it. They're supposed to stop him, but with no government. We've already lost our government. That's the problem, is we've already lost the rule of law. We've lost everything else. If he can postpone this election, he's got it, and he knows that. He can act as stupid as he wants to. He knows that much. And he's not doing this all by himself. Like I said, he's got the family group and all these right-wing, supposedly religious people behind him. Not the poor little older people that watch Fox News. They're still watching that magic guy walking around dressed up like the devil that says he's Antifa and believe in it. They're just gullible. That's what they are. That's what happens when you mix church with government. And that's Reagan's fault. Wasn't too much government mixed in with the church's vote. He was the one that started out the voting deal for them. So, is he going to use the National Guard? Probably all of them. Well, he tried that in the past. And the present, he's seeing who he's contriving, who he needs to talk to be able to do that, and trying to figure out that there was another law in there that he didn't put into effect that wouldn't legally work for this anyway, but they were talking about it. So there's some kind of bribes or something going on in the present now about who he would use. Should have did a big reading on this instead, because that reminds me of Erik Prince. Erik Trump, you know, like he can't even go shoot an animal unless it's whatever, endangered. Well, the challenge on using the Guard would be Justice. But it looks like she's almost tied to the chair. But she's holding her, it's pretty level there. Doesn't look like they're going to let that he could use the Guard for that. That he's upset because he already found out he's not going to be able to call in the guard for that. So that he's kind of marking that off his list. So how about all the police officers? How about all the police officers? Are they all going to jump on his bandwagon too? Have they already jumped on it? Looks like a big percentage of them's jumped on it. And also looks like there may be quite a few neo-Nazis in our police departments. You don't go around shoving old people to the ground and stomping by them with your black boots unless your heart is totally full of hate. So there's something weird going on there. And if it's okay just because they're black or because they're out marching for black people, then there's something really wrong there. So we've got well, in the past, the police were just pretty sure they had it made, no matter what they did. They were going to be on top of the world. Isn't that something? We got the devil above it, and in the present we got the emperor. So he thinks that he's got their backing, that he could call them in. And we keep coming up with his temperance cards. I hope they keep coming up, and I hope they keep us all settled down, because the last thing we need is a war in our streets. That's the challenge. And there'll be a lot of them that won't want to do it if he calls in the police. Excuse me. But he's trying to figure out how much of his magician power he can put into it. How much magic, how much he can put everybody's mind looking a different direction. He's thinking maybe he can get the police in there. So that's not his plan to totally use him, and of course it wouldn't be. There's not that many, but it looks like he might be planning on having them help. And the next is the military, and let's hope that the military is not going to be involved in this in any way, because that's the only thing that could stop it if everything else goes tits up. I'm sure this is getting too long. I'm going to have to cut a bunch of this out. So how about the military? Get moving, Lynn. Will the military be able to... It's just not ready yet. Will the military be able to... Will they be the ones that he tries to call in to keep himself in office? Oh, he has no regard for the family. We know that in the past. Maybe I just got him all upside down. Well, he's had everything going his way. He figures he's just can call anybody he wants to. Figures he can call a military in if he wants to. That there might be more paperwork involved in it than he thinks. He thinks he can just send them all over, but there's going to be hopefully a holdup if he tries that. Paperwork, something going on there. The military won't come in for him. Definitely will not back him in any way. He tries it. The military might be the ones that stop this. They might save our ass at home. Save our ass at home. Would he ever go so far to try to call in mercenaries? I don't think. I think that would be a waste of time, since it shows right here that the military is not going to help him. I don't think, although they brought those private people in around the White House before and nobody stepped in to even get any identification on them. To see if he would try to use mercenaries on top of it to get it started and then call the military in. I'm afraid to look at these cards. I can't even keep having nightmares about Erik Prince. I know it's silly, but why do I keep dreaming about him? Why is he even, he's been doing such a low profile. Why does he keep coming up? He's been keeping a low profile on purpose. Definitely in the present, somebody's slipping him money in case they need help. He is getting paid already for something that Trump's wanting him to do. There's been a partnership made there for a long time. Probably before Betsy DeVos' sister ever got in charge of the school board to pull them apart. That deal goes back a long ways. That's got to be Trump just wanting to keep his seat. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. He's not usually the king of wands to me, but I wouldn't be surprised if it hasn't already been discussed. Doesn't mean it'll happen, but it's been discussed. There's money been being discussed with him about it. Numbers of troops that he could get together. The deal's already been made in case he's needed. That would be a big stepping off for somebody that's a multi-billionaire already from all the shady deals he made with our government supplying these people to him during the last 2 wars. He could lose everything if he came through with this and it didn't go through. So maybe this is under the challenge. So the challenge would be making the deal, getting Erik to go along with it, to put him back into keep him in the presidency. Or whatever, it wouldn't be the presidency, it'd just be total anarchy with him in control, that's kind of what it is right now. But anyway, gee, don't I make you guys all feel so good? Anyway, you make me feel good, and that just doesn't seem like it made any sense to me at all. My name is Lynn, and if you'd like a private reading, just get a hold of me at Lynn Tarot Readings. Lynn Tarot Readings at gmail.com. Lynn Tarot Readings at gmail.com, and I'll get you set right up. And I'm giving $10 discounts for this for the whole month of July. If somebody would like to come in July or whatever, set up a reading for July. If you live in San Diego, I could set it up where you could actually come in and get a face-to-face reading. Or not. But anyway, I love you all. I couldn't get by without your comments, and you're really helping me get through quarantine, and hopefully I'm helping you a little bit, although this doesn't sound good. We just all need to get together and remember to vote if we have to stand in line for 15 hours and get there early, and take a chair and a porta potty, but this has to be taken care of, and we've got 6 months. 6 months to know if our democracy is going to make it through this, and maybe even longer. Well, 6 months we'll know, because it'll be December already. They'll have something by December, even if he stole the election, but we've got to be ready to fight in any way, shape, or form. So anyway, I love you all. And like I say, I hate to sound like Debbie Downer, but that's why I don't read cards more often, because I don't want to read unless I'm not going to lie to anybody about what I'm dreaming about, having spirit come to, whatever. I'm not going to lie to anybody about it. And I love you all, and thank you so much. Night now. Bye-bye.